Welcome back to Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. Well, we are so excited because our friend Pixie is back in the house, so to speak, with us. Aren't we excited, Laurel, for this one today, huh?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. It's
Welcome
always
back,
fun when Pixie
Pixie.
is with us.
I know. Welcome back, Pixie. We're so glad you're here. How are you
Thank
today,
you.
Pixie? You
I
ready
am
to?
good. I
Yeah.
am, and I'm always glad to be with you too. I love it. Thank you for inviting me back.
Yeah, well, Pixie and I, for those of you that don't know, about all about our personal lives, which we don't expect you to, but we're willing to share some of the things. Pixie and I are buddies, and she lives near me, so we, get together and have great talks. And Pixie threw out this topic, and I immediately, as the moment that she reeled it out in one sentence or one question, I don't remember how it was, Pixie. I said, "Ooh, are you want to do a podcast on that?" And she said, "Oh yeah, sure." So I went right to Laurel and I said, "Hey, look." So here we are right away on this topic. And our topic today is, we're going to get right into it because we don't have a lot of time and we really want to share as much as we can in this 30 minutes. The topic today is, why do we lie? So we're going to begin with, I don't know, Pixie, do you want to dig right in with a little bit of preface to everybody? We had talked a little bit about this ahead
Yeah,
of time. I don't
sure.
know.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I think that kind of the origin of or the seed of this idea came because Laurel and I pick a word each year, and we talk about it actually starting in November. What's your word? What's your word? What's your word
Yeah.
going to be? And mine came full force this year. It's truth slash voice slash my word. And it has to do a lot. If anybody likes to think about energy, it has a lot to do with the kind of the throat chakra. And it was kind of a natural progression for me in 2023 because I've been working so hard on what I call my lower energy centers. The closest would be, of course, the heart chakra. Um, and I feel like I've done so much work, and I was ready, to actually talk about truth. And Laurel is a great person to talk about this with because she has been thinking about this and really working on her voice for, gosh, Laurel, 40
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of good people around me in this year as I walk through this word. But I think, I've written copious. I journal a lot. I journal to understand what I need to know. I journal every day for clarity and wisdom. And I've been journaling about truth and voice and what it means. And then all of a sudden, after meditation one morning, I went, well, wait a minute. Why is this so hard? Like, why do we lie? Um, which,
I love it. Pixie, I just love the question that you posed to yourself. Why is this so hard?
yeah, why is this so hard? Like,
Because
why is
yeah, that was the question you said out loud to me. And it was like it was just such a beautiful, biased, unjudgmental, way to just go, why is this so hard for us
yeah,
to
what
just come forth and say what's happening in here, right? What we
and
are
and
experiencing, our truth. Yeah.
and out there,
Yeah.
it's here we are as a human species and a kind of a collective human experience, supporting each other, growing with each other, mirroring each other, and we lie to each other. Come on.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Why do we do that? And so
Yeah.
Laurel's like, I put it out to her. I remember we were in the car, and I'm like, so Laurel, why do we lie? And she's like, I, I, I don't know. I got to think about this. I don't know. Let's think about this. So
I said,
anyway,
yeah.
that's the background of this
Yeah.
seeded idea. I think the best way to start, though, is to talk about maybe each of us what we mean by
Yeah.
truth. Because
Yeah.
if we can set the foundation and kind of like what I would say the framework for what does it actually mean to us to be truthful and use our voice, then we can maybe talk about like why we don't use our voice and why.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great place to start. So I will say that, Pixie, when you were talking about, why do we lie? And I've been talking about this a lot, with clients. And for myself, I really investigated this very deeply. So I know the answer to both of those questions. So I'm going to jump off with how I would define my truth, right? Or how I define the truth. So for me, my truth is my ability to straightforward, directly say and share in words my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas, my opinions. And when I say it, that my truth is what I believe inside me or my experience of what's going on for me. When I'm talking about a truth, a truth, I'm talking about probably like baseline assumptions that we make about the world. Like we are living on the planet Mother Earth. Like collectively, that's a truth that we all share as well. Most of us, not everybody. I think some people don't think that, but like what tends to be a global experience as a reality that we share. So I would say that that's my closest definition I can give for truth for me. So let's just do a little round table here. Pixie or Laurel, would you like to share your definition?
Laurel,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So when I hear the word truth, especially my truth, because I do think that truth, as you mentioned, Laurel, it can be collective, but oftentimes when we talk about why we lie, we don't lie for the benefit of the collective often. But I don't want to get into the why too soon, but my truth is being true to myself, right? And so we talked about this in the 4 agreements last summer in our book circle. Being authentic, being true to your word, being real with yourself and allowing yourself to come into a room, a circle, bringing who you really are at your core outside of you and sharing that with the world is how I see my truth. A truth collectively, I think it is true. It would be, I don't even want to say the word majority. This is so hard right now in the world we live in. But, if you had 10 people in the room, they would all agree a factual situation without any qualifiers, right? And that's hard because often we don't always see the perspective of truth, even a truth, like everyone else does. Yeah. Pixie, you're up.
So, truth for me, and certainly the kind of the divine path for 2023, is to value who I am and staying true to who I am and also who I'm becoming. So it is expressing that inner part of me in the outer part of my day, through my, words, through my thoughts, and certainly through my actions. So it's, for me, my truth, again, I'm going to have to come back to my, my spiritual foundation is, it is the divine expression within me. And so it's staying true to that deepest, most sacred part of me that knows what I want and knows what I need and knows what I desire. And it's staying true to that voice inside, instead of all the truths or whatever outside that people are imposing on that little soul within me. I think a lot too, because I'm going to practice this in 2023. I've thought about, like, so what does it mean? What does not telling a lie, or in the more positive way, what does telling the truth mean in a day-to-day sense? And I think it's important to talk about, because I think that'll kind of help us when we think about why we don't do this. But for me, it's not only it's knowing my truth, but then it's expressing it openly and fearlessly, with compassion, for sure. But equally, it also means staying quiet.
And absolutely. Yep.
And truth is truly listening with an open heart, without imposing your particular preferences or whatever, but actually remaining quiet to your truth and listening. I think staying truthful means you're not going to tolerate anymore what was intolerable. You're staying true to yourself. And so you're allowing yourself to walk away from situations that you have said, or your soul has said, look, that doesn't deserve your time, your energy, or your focus. So staying truthful means paying attention with intention, and either staying, listening, speaking up, or removing yourself with love. I think truth for me also is, I think this is incredibly important to the communal good of the world, is holding other people's truth sacred. Embracing them. Maybe you're not going to live by that truth personally. Maybe it doesn't resonate as a guide for your day, but you hold that truth genuine and sacred for that person.
I think I want to just pause there, Pixie, because I feel like you shared a lot there that some people might want to unpack just a little bit. That would be helpful. And one of the things that came up for me as I was listening was the idea of holding other people's truths as sacred as well. And I think this is probably one of the complicated places in life today, because we often don't really get to the real truth of what someone's saying. We often get to maybe an opinion, a surface opinion that sounds like they're telling their truth, and yet it's just the tip, let's say, of the iceberg of what their deeper, more sacred truth is. And so we get caught up in staying out there on that tip of the iceberg, rather than going down into where is your deeper truth here, and how does what you're saying out here align with what's going on down here, and is there really alignment in the end? And I think for many people, there's not alignment. I mean, I know, having done work with people, with clients, where we start out here and then we go down here and they realize, oh, that's not what I meant, or that's not how that all fits together. Like, the puzzle pieces are different than maybe what the surface looks like. So yeah, I mean, what we're talking about today, as we get into, exploring a little bit more depth, why do we lie? This is one of the complicated things that we're looking at, and that we have to unpack a little bit. And then we have to realize, when we're having conversations with people, right, we have to make space for even the conversation around the conversation, which is, like, I think what we're going to be doing today, a lot of, is how do we even have a conversation about what we're conversing about, to help us have a decent conversation in the end, and we can maybe understand one another a little bit. Laurel, what came up for you as Pixie was sharing? Did you have some stuff you want to unpack there? Because I could tell when I was watching you that you probably felt like, yeah, there was a
It was
lot.
the light bulb
Yeah.
moment. Did you see it? Did you see it? It was the concept of, giving voice to for each of us to give voice to our own truth might require being silent. And what that was like, really, what a contrast, right? Between giving voice and being silent. Like, I don't know, it just was really, it created this awareness of, a lot of people try to speak their truth, but it may be giving voice to your truth requires being silent and living your truth, right?
Yes.
And so that, it may not be in the speaking. The voice may be in living your truth. And then the piece of, honoring others' truth, and how each of our actions can really demonstrate our honor and respect of someone else's truth, even if it is not identical to our own truth, right? The concept that each and every one of us has our own truth, is so beautiful.
Well, and there's a couple of things. First of all, I'm almost a believer now that it's always better to listen more, talk less, because I think you get closer to your truth when you truly, and I call it alert listening. When you're truly alertly listening to somebody, I think you're really allowing them to have their voice, but you're also developing yours. And the thing about other people's truths, Laurel, is, and I think about this a lot, the more I get to know my truth and who I am, I really don't care what other people's truths are, in the sense that if they differ from mine, that's okay. That's fine.
Right.
I'm becoming, as I get more solid in my truth, my voice, what I want, what I need, what I desire, my preferences. I can do that thing my daughter said since junior year, and she's now 37. You do you, and it feels really good with no judgment.
Yeah, I want to put a qualifier on that, Pixie, or speak into that just a little bit, because I want to say that people might have heard that as like, I don't care what you think. I don't care what your truth is. Like, who cares what that is? I don't think that's what you meant. I think what you meant is, you can have your truth and I can have mine, and I am not going to be agitated because your truth is different than mine. Right?
I'm gonna hold your truth sacred, because it's your truth. And I'm going to honor you, and I'm going to appreciate you. I may not necessarily hold the same truth, but that's okay. It's okay that our truth's different. So, so with all that background, let's talk about why
do we lie?
Why do we not tell the truth?
Why is it so hard? The question that you posed, like, why is it so hard so I will speak into my story a little bit. Let's all do that like we did before, like, what's our version of this? And I know from, Pixie, I feel like I had a little bit of a aha moment or self-awareness as you were speaking into this idea of alert listening and getting closer to your truth. And I feel like one of my protection mechanisms when I was young was to go silent. And for me, going silent was being able to protect what I felt and knew inside myself as my truth, and yet couldn't put out with any comfort into the world. And I think that even though it was a defense mechanism, it also served me well to be able to develop that alert listener and to get close to and protect my truth along the course of my life when I was young. And so in some ways, it hindered me because I couldn't speak up and share my truth like I wanted to many times. But it also allowed me to relax into really developing that alert listener, that ability to like sit and listen to other people's truth and hear their full truth and not have to defend mine at that moment, or even say that mine was different and have some sort of debate about it. So I feel like I just want to thank you for like putting words to that, because I feel like that really allowed me to see myself in that context, and recognize that. But I know that, for me, it was a question of like recognizing that I had a part of me that I wanted to keep safe and sacred and didn't want stomped on. And I recognized in the places that I was in when I was young, where it wasn't safe to put that out there and know that it would be held sacred. And I just had a knowing of that. And so for a long time, I was very quiet about my truth. And so it was a protection. And it was also the fear of being rejected for my truth. I desperately wanted connection and intimacy in many ways, where I could find it, because there wasn't a whole lot of it going on. And so I was very careful, not to put myself in places where I'd be rejected, because I really wanted connection and intimacy. So my fear of rejection, I think, was my number one, saving my truth for being careful of my truth. Yeah. Yeah. And not putting it right out there. That's what I was afraid of, rejection. How about you, Laurel? Where are you?
Yeah, I mean, the same. It's tied up into, our deep human need for belonging, right? Our fear of rejection, and worse than rejection, abandonment, right? And so sometimes, those things get in the way. It's wonderful to find a tribe of people that you can, live your truth and be accepted and belong in that group with deep safety. That is something that everyone should know. But often we find ourselves through our life in places where we are part of a system, a community. It could be our families of origin. It could be, maybe a school or a church that we go to. It could be a workplace. And those are the places that sometimes we are in because we need to be, for a livelihood or a family of origin. You cannot just decide at a young age to up and leave your family of origin. Right. So how do you, honor yourself, but honor your own need for belonging, and protect yourself, keep yourself safe in those systems? And I do think we do it by being selective about how much we share about our truth before we have the strength and the independence and the ability to step into our truth so fully that we're willing to separate in our relationships. Yeah. What about you, Pixie?
I mean, I think you both touched on what I would call the human paradox, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we come into this world and we have this human experience, and we have this raw need to belong and to attach and connect. And in addition, we're evolving. And we have this need for individual expression, self-expression. We have this need, or we wouldn't be here today, to talk about self-truth. We have a need to talk about authenticity. But here's the human paradox. We need to survive. And to survive, we need others. And so when speaking up or even remaining silent, whatever it is expressing our truth at that point, is threatening our belonging, it threatens our survival, and we back down.
Yeah.
So we lie to ourselves and we lie to others.
Yeah.
Because it is so scary that we're not going to have a human group to help us along this human experience. And so our need for attachment, our need for survival trumps self-truth and authenticity. But here's what I was thinking about today, this morning, actually. So that's a pretty basic biological need, right? I mean, it's probably been around. How long have we been around, right? And
millions of years.
Yeah, but do you see what's happening? And the reason we're here is because humans are evolving a new consciousness.
Yeah.
And we're starting to accept these kind of new ideas that, hey, wait a minute. We not only need to survive, we can thrive. We're like in an evolutionary transition. And so we're actually thinking about things like self-authenticity, self-expression as we become more self-aware and more conscious. And it just kind of comes down to this whole free will thing, that as we're evolving consciously in self-awareness, we realize we have a choice now to think about these things. But I think that the ultimate, I mean, really when we lie, right, we're just fear. We're just scared. That's it. I mean, whenever you have inauthenticity or anything negative emotion, it's fear, right? And so what are we scared of? Well, we're scared because we want to survive, but we're also scared because we're one of the few species that knows we're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of like a existential fear that looms unconsciously. And so we'll do anything while living to create connections so that we don't have to think about being alone and ultimately being going towards our individual death. That actually hit me this morning because when you think of other species, right? I mean, I don't know, dolphins probably don't lie, right? They got this kind of connection automatically. There's no conflict between dolphin self-expression and collective belonging and surviving with their mother. I mean, it's just a slam dunk clear, like, this is what we're going to do for a year. I'm going to sit on your back and then I'm going to... But humans have this conflict. So that's just a kind of
I love that. I can't help it. I have to say this because it's just like in my head and it's so funny. I love the movie Moonstruck. It's like one of my favorite movies. And in that movie, there's so many good lines and some of them are very, philosophical, shall we say. And one of them is, the mom in the movie, she's wondering why her husband's cheating. So she's asking men, why do men cheat? And the answer that's given to her that she goes, that's it, is, because they fear death. That's her potential new son-in-law says, because they fear death. And she goes, that's it. And it's interesting because when we get into these conversations, right? Like you just went down the deep stream of consciousness and existential thought. And the reality is that many answers to why do we do a lot of the things we do are because we fear death.
Well, we fear being alone, and we know
isolated.
Isolated, and we know humans consciously are aware because of our evolutionary and our mind expansion, our frontal lobe cortex is developing, whatever. We're very aware now. We're probably one of the few species that is aware that yes, we're living, and yes, we're going to die. And when you die, you're alone. And so this fear prevails kind of like, but that's kind of the deeper thing. And I wasn't even sure I was going to bring it up, but me, Laurel, I do like to go deep. But, I got to tell you, there's some obvious things that I think would be fun for our listeners, just to kind of let them, relate, kind of immediately all under this, umbrella of not being rejected, not being alone, not being abandoned, needing to belong. I mean,
looking better than I really am,
yeah,
looking,
yeah.
I mean, all kinds of, right? Like there's all these petty reasons as well, which we can call them fun, we can call them lighter, we can call them whatever, less deep, but they are a reality of, the little
they're
lies we
reality.
tell during the day.
Well, and think of your kids. You remember when your kids were a toddler,
Yeah,
right? They
yeah,
lied because they didn't want to get in trouble.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely. That's right.
you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
we lie now. I'm trying not to in 2023, hopefully for the rest of my life, but we don't want to hurt people's feelings, so
yep,
we think, in a way it's kind of arrogant because we think, oh, well, we're going to
yeah.
protect somebody. We're going to not hurt their feelings when really in the long run, we might be hurting them more.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But
Yeah.
we
And
lie.
also assuming, right? Assuming that we know it would exactly hurt their feelings. And also, I think, it's that piece of it. And I think it's the reality of saying something hard to somebody and doing it well is an art form. We've talked about that before here on the podcast, this idea of saying things well and how it takes practice, to say the hard things well. And yet, when you can say hard things well to someone with compassion, with kindness, with respect, I think it is the most empowering experience, one of the most empowering experiences you can have as a human. Because you can walk away from your word feeling really good and strong and brave and true. And there aren't a lot of things that you can do, pretty readily, right? And bring those feelings up inside yourself. And yet, many times we just don't think we can do it. And saying our truth to somebody or saying to somebody, look, I just can't, I don't want to be friends anymore. I mean, I feel like our friendship ran its course. We don't have that much in common. I'm really busy now and I can't make time I don't want to make time in my life anymore for this friendship. That is a hard thing to do well. I mean, I just ran that one off the top of my head and I didn't do it great, but it's a start, right? It's a start. And it's the truth. It's the hard truth of, look, I'm moving on. This doesn't fit for me anymore, but to be able to like walk away cleanly. I was thinking about this too, Pixie, because I was thinking about, all the relationships. If I go back into all my relationships, all my friendships, is there any one where I would go back and end it differently because I don't feel like I was upfront enough about that, And that's a good exercise because it causes you to go back and say, if I were going to do better, how would I do it? It's the only way that we really grow in this experience and then this truth telling that we're talking about, right? Is to imagine how do we do it better? And we have to, I think, put ourselves in those situations, those imaginary situations, and then grow the language, grow the response of how do I say this well? Yeah.
And I think that is one of the areas that we can use, lying. It can be a clue of where we are developing our truth, where we are getting to know ourselves better. I mean, sometimes I think that, or I think sometimes we lie or we don't speak our truth because we don't know what our truth is yet. We don't know who we are at the core. And so, I look at this path, this journey that we're constantly improving, getting to know ourselves deeper and better. And it may take some people a lifetime to really figure out who they are at the core, why they're here, what their purpose is and what their truth is. Unfortunately, sometimes it's towards the end of life when we figure out what our truth is. And so every step along the way where we've been challenged, whether it's our fear of abandonment or we don't speak our beliefs freely, those are clues that they just reveal more of who we are. And so maybe going forward for our listeners, that might be a good exercise. Pay attention to when you are agreeing with someone because it's easier. You know, when
Yeah.
you are complimenting someone, when they ask you, does this dress make me look fat? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And yeah. Yeah.
and so how can you use that uncomfortableness to get yourself, yourself knowing deeper
Yeah.
so that
That's
you
great.
are more comfortable living your truth?
Yeah. Yeah, I know when we're in, our show, we love to give journaling exercises and prompts and ideas, and I feel like that's a really great one. This idea of when do you feel like, you are shy, pulling away from being able to speak what you really want to speak? When do you know you're avoiding a conversation that you really want to share something and you're having a hard time doing it, right? And then, I mean, one of the things I love when Pixie comes on the show because we know she's steeped in doing the beautiful work, right? This journaling and the talking about it and the sharing and living into your word every year. Like this is the beautiful work. And our ability to do it, it comes from our motivation to want to grow in these ways that we're talking about today. And the beauty that comes from this is unparalleled. To me, it's unparalleled in my life. I love a beautiful sunset. I love a beautiful bouquet of roses. I love beautiful things. But when you live into the beauty of who you are and are able to embody that and align with it and feel like you're owning all these, this that you are within, it is absolutely a beautiful experience. And it's open to all of us. We all can come here, all are
Yes.
invited. Yeah.
So I like what you both have just recently said. And you know, I guess what I would say is if people want to start paying attention, to
Mm,
this and seeing where it kind of fits in their life and how they're doing, I think I think that it's such a great point to say you only do what you know. You only know what you know.
yeah.
And at the time. And so use tremendous compassion and forgiveness for, maybe that person 10 years ago that was only knowing how to survive, and using a lot of untruths to survive because they didn't know. It's okay, and as if you want to do the beautiful work and you want to get to your truth, as Laurel Holland said, you know, that right there is 50% of the work. And and it's just going to be a continuous journey to say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. This is where I'm having trouble. I think this is my truth. I'm getting to know my truth. I'm getting to know myself. I think this is. I'm gonna sit with this for a while. Um, and I love combining what she said with what you said, Laurel, and that is, okay, let's take who we are today, right? What we know today, and let's just for fun. 15 years ago, when I ended that relationship and I kind of did it saying this, wow, I'm a different person today. I wonder, I bet I would have done this today. And
Yeah,
and
that's good.
you know, what a way to kind of even get to know yourself. I mean, sometimes it is really good to look back so you can, you know.
Yeah.
But the other thing I would say, and I've been trying to do this in my commitment to truth in 2023 is that it's really simple. Pause and just say, well, wait a minute, is that true? Wait, Pixie, is that true? Like, I do it all the time now. Like if I'm
Yeah.
feeling something, it's like, oh, hold on. Is that a feeling that's staying? Is that true?
Mhm.
I say it, sometimes I say it before I think I'm going to say something to a friend, and it's like, no, I'm not going to say that. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's simple. Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. And the relationships that you know that you have a hard time telling the truth in, how can you challenge yourself to be quiet rather than saying something that is out of alignment? Because when you step out of that alignment, you actually injure yourself, right? You create a situation where you're probably going to feel some guilt, some remorse, some regret, something later down the line. And so this thing that we talk about, this alert listening and are willing to just be silent for a moment. What is our truth? Is there a space to say, I don't know. I don't know if I can really share my truth right now. I'm thinking about it, but it feels a little vulnerable. I'm a little scared to do it. How can you invite the person to make it safe, right? This is when we talk about having the conversation around the conversation, learning how to do that is not a bad thing, right? Yeah. How do I introduce a conversation?
Right.
It's hard. Yeah.
And also, I think Laurel had a really good point too. Discernment's really important. Sometimes for me, I'm realizing it's not worth speaking up. It's not like I'm betraying myself. It's not like I'm lying to myself. It's just that I'm saying to myself, you know what? This is not worth my time, focus, and effort right now. This is just something that I want to kind of detach from, walk away with love.
Yeah.
Discernment's pretty important, and mostly because as people get more conscious and self-aware, being around others who aren't really valuing that, or aren't valuing the truth, or aren't valuing consciousness, sometimes it just really isn't worth the time and effort. At least I'm speaking from my view.
Well, and again, we go back to that idea of sacred truth, protecting your sacred truth. Like where are the conversations where you can have it and you can get to a point where we're really on that we're having a real conversation about what each of our sacred truths are. And there has to be consciousness on both sides. There has to be a willingness to go deep. There has to be a willingness to, be in there with brutal honesty for myself, never mind, my ability to listen to you. Like there's certain qualities that have to happen in order to hold that kind of conversation. So, being choosy about where you have those conversations is, I think, a prerequisite for being aligned with your word in a consistent way. Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's one of the ways that we can create safety around our truth, right? So when we can decide where to bring it, how to bring it, if to bring it, if we have the ability, or when we have the ability to create a safe space for it to be received. So we get to decide that, which is what I love about sometimes, our silence is really because we don't yet have the ability to create a safe space for our truth to be received.
Yeah. Yeah. Even for ourselves, never mind the other person. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So there's a couple fun things to think about too, and I'm not sure that we need to give answers. I certainly have opinions about it, but one is is it appropriate to tell a white lie? Is it ever appropriate to tell a white lie? And I think if you line 10 people up, I honestly would venture to say that 7 would say, oh, it's okay, because sometimes, it's not going to hurt anybody. As long as it doesn't hurt somebody, I think it's okay. I would think that we're at least over 50% people lined up would say, sometimes white lies are fine.
Listeners, we want to know, what do you think? Yeah.
I think that's an important subtlety to this. Yeah. And the other thing too is, and this is something that I personally struggled with, and I'm still trying to deal with it. And that is that, I'm from Philadelphia. I can't help it. I'm going to generalize, but we love to make people laugh, and we, just whatever. There's a lot of people that come from that area that we just think it's just really fun. And so I grew up learning how to embellish a story, and make it fun and make people laugh and get people engaged and all that kind of thing. That's another subtlety to think about. Like, is that
it is? Yeah. And in this influencer world that we are developing in social media and in the world today, This is a big, and this is one of the issues. And this is why I'm so glad we got together to do this podcast today with both of you. I thank you so much, because it is a topic that we all want to explore and wrestle with and come to terms with, and hopefully rise into a better sense of wholeness and completeness around, feeling like we're in integrity here in our culture. Because there's a lot of forces pushing us to do otherwise, and we have to, it takes strength, and that's why we talk about this empowerment, right? It takes bravery, it takes courage to stand up and say, no, that doesn't really feel in alignment with my truth, or I don't feel like I'd really be sharing my full truth, or I kind of feel like I'd be lying if I had to support that, like, where is your integrity here, right? Yeah.
Well,
really
and
important.
now that you brought the social thing up, the other thing that I was thinking about, here we were born with this inherent need to belong and connect and, receive support from others. And yet, so often we choose to lie, embellish in the name of competition to get up on top.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and as you said, and really what sparked this thought is influencer. I'm not negating influencers, but I am going to say that there's a lot of tactics out there to motivate or get people to do things in our society, and particularly through social media,
Right.
that is not necessarily upfront, transparent, in total integrity.
Yeah.
And so, these things, we're living in a world that conflicts a little bit with some of these other human needs. And
yeah. So we want to know. We would love to know from you listeners. Why do we lie? What do you think? Why do you think we lie? Why do you lie? Why do you lie? I think that was the thing that Pixie. Let's end here, right? Is we were, when Pixie and I talked about this, we said, we have to start with the assumption in the podcast, which we didn't say out loud, but we're going to finish with. The assumption is we all do lie.
We do.
We do small lies, little lies, avoidance lies, whatever the quality is,
But we lie to ourselves, we lie to others.
That's right. And the quest is, hopefully, as Pixie's is, and mine has been for very many years. I know Laurel, is how do we remove ourselves from the need to do that any longer, and instead, become a more conscious, more evolved human being that says, I'm just going to share my truth right now as I understand it, and just let the chips fall where they may, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, and I will end with this, because I truly believe this. Truth is love. It comes out of love. And so when you do find misalignment or lying in all the different ways we've spoken about today, whether it's to ourselves or to others, it's out of fear. And it's that simple. It's fear versus love. And when you choose love, I will go on as saying, you are choosing truth.
Yeah. And, I think the secret for me is in non-judgment. Because when you think about our fear of abandonment or rejection, when we act out of the fear of abandonment and rejection, others mirror that same behavior. It allows them to protect or to live in their fear. Whereas if we can create, if we focus on non-judgment and we are not judging others for whatever it is that they are doing, creating that safe space for them, they will then mirror that, and we will feel safer. And if we felt safe, we might not have to lie.
Beautiful. Well, and that is the key. If we felt safe, we wouldn't have to lie. Yeah. And also the non-judgment comes back to one of my first points, and that is, if the person you're with knows you're holding their truth sacred, you're not judging it. You're holding them and their truth sacred. You're loving them. You're not judging them. They're going to feel safe.
Yeah.
Imagine if we could do that with everyone.
Yeah, well, and then we come back to this beautiful work, this idea, and we'll close here, everybody. I know we've been long, but this idea of how do we do it first and foremost for ourselves, right? How do we stop judging self, hold ourselves in sacred space within, right? Find that space within to honor, love, and cherish self. And, when we ultimately get there, it's much easier to do it for others, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
amen.
you.
Okay. Thank you, Pixie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Laurel, for a great discussion
Thank
today.
you.
And listeners, we want to hear from you. We want to know, why do you lie? Why do we lie? What we want to know. We definitely want to know. The more that we can share here, the more that we can self-understand and grow and evolve together. So thanks. We'll be back again for more beautiful life, beautiful work. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Pixie. Thanks again.
Thank you.